All right, good morning. This is Thursday morning, and this is the day where we're stream gauging Rapid Creek, and we're gauging two locations, and we're at the first location right now. This is a USGS gauging station location, and the name of it is Rapid Creek above Canyon Lake. And so anybody can go on to the USGS website, look at the NWIS, the National Water Information System, and look up that gauge name and see the records. And so this is June 2nd, I believe, and it is 8:45 a.m. and you can look up that exact time and see what the flow is here that we're measuring. So we got 4 teams going. We have 3 gauges that appear to be working this morning. So 3 teams are stretching a measurement tape across the creek. We'll see that in a minute. And then they're using velocity meters to measure the velocity in at least 10 equal width sections across the creek. Each of those little sections have a width and a depth times the velocity, and it's a little discharge. Add all those discharges and get the discharge of the stream. So they're also doing a lot of supplementary data collection, including stream slope, sediment size distribution of the sediment at the bottom of the stream. They'll be calculating shear stress. They'll be looking at what's called hydraulic geometry as part of their design parameters, and doing various things. So they're collecting a lot of data. We have a team right now using a highly scientific instrument called a gravelometer, which is just an aluminum sheet with rectangular holes cut in it that are sized in millimeters. And you pick a cobble up off the substrate and put it through, and you measure the size. And you do 100 measurements minimum, and then you can kind of get a histogram of what the sediment size looks like. So these guys are doing that. And Victor here has the gravelometer. Oh, no, Emily does. I don't know if you can see it in her hand. But it's just a sheet with a rock in it. I'll go down there and see if we can see what this process is.
Whatever this one is.
Okay, so you guys aren't doing foot in front of foot?
What?
Foot in front of your foot.
What?
Foot in front of your foot. That's how you take the data.
Okay.
1 foot at a time.
Okay.
It's not random.
All right.
So you stand, you pick up what's at your toe. And then you put your foot in front of your foot and you pick up what's in front of that toe.
Oh, okay.
And you keep moving like that.
Okay.
Because this way it's totally random. You're going to get totally different data than if you do those cross sections taking 1 foot at a time.
Okay.
Sounds good.
There's a group up there with a tape stretched across the stream doing stream gauge. I just have half-high rubber boots on, so I'm not going too deep. I don't want to swamp them. So, typical thing, this is the first time most of these people have seen or done any of these types of measurements, and even though we go over in detail, it's written out in the report, they still just kind of randomly go about doing the stuff. So it's a great day today. This is forecast to be up to 70, but man, it is a clear sky. We are above the fish hatchery in Rapid City, if you're familiar with the location, and a beautiful cliff of the we're in the Minnelusa formation here, so right where we stand, we're probably down toward the lower third of the formation, and then up there is toward the top. That's more the middle. Those are the Leo sands, the yellow sand with the big thick red sand above, if you recall that from our measurements at Ranch A at the amphitheater. Okay, so they're using the velocity instrument here. That is a vertical rod with a propeller on the bottom that goes in the creek, and you just traverse that thing up and down from bottom of the creek to the surface, back down to the bottom of the creek, up to the surface. and you keep going until the velocity of that section equilibrates and just gives you a constant velocity, and then that's the average velocity for that, whatever depth of that section is, and that's what you write down. So you got to pick your spot. You know, this would not be a great spot to try to gauge because there's a bunch of rocks and a little waterfall there. So you want to be somewhere where you got a nice even flow, and you can see a nice even flow, and there's no obstructions or boulders or things in the stream. And these guys have a question.
Yes.
Which is?
So if we are measuring from there down this way,
yes,
is this culvert or this ripple gonna make it higher?
That's part of the slope, right? So you would stand, say right out here, and go 100 feet, and if it's right in front of Kyle, that's your 100 feet. So water slope to water slope.
Sounds good.
All the little ripples and bumps in it included, because that's part of the slope.
Okay.
Yep.
You think I'm before or after this?
Huh?
Drop?
It's definitely after this.
So are you with these guys?
Yeah,
that's your measurement location?
I got the previous one.
So you can pace off your 100 feet and then get in the water and do it? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of taking a measurement because this one gives you meters, so I'm doing like 30 meters, 33 meters.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get as close to that as possible.
Okay, right. So what kind of a slope did you get for that upper?
The change in elevation was 0.4 meters. The angle was 0.8.
What was the distance?
31.4 meters.
Okay, so that's what you need for your gradient.
Yeah.
I found another wader with holes in it.
Oh, I'm sure you have to. Okay, Britton.
Yeah.
Completely do a 180. It's your body, 180. There you go. You stand below the gauge between your legs. There you go. So that way the gauge has the greatest possibility of having an unobstructed run.
Your toes are gonna hate it in about 5 seconds.
So how deep does it get out there? Does it get up to the middle of your thigh?
Oh yeah, it got all the way up here.
Okay. Yep, looks like a little deep hole there.
Because I was walking about shin level and then I went, whoop.
Yeah. Okay, and this is I don't think this is the active one now, but this is USGS Gaging Station, Rapid Creek above Canyon Lake. And this was the station that recorded the flow, max flow of, I think it was 31,300 cubic feet per second on June 9, 1972, which is in a week going to be 50 years. And this was completely overwhelmed, and it didn't stop acquiring data for a while, but data were getting kind of wonky, and they didn't use some of those higher readings and have back calculated a max flow here of just over 31,000 cubic feet per second. So the flow would have definitely been over the road up here and was back onto that other canyon. All these bridges were all rebuilt. So I bet if we looked around and found the date on the concrete up here, it's going to be early 70s after the 72 flood. There's the gauge marker. Let me get in the shadow here and see if that will make a difference. There, on that pier out there, there's a measurement tape for depth. And you see the tape starts at about 7 feet, and it says 8, 9, and 10 on there. And again, I don't think this is the active station. I think the active station is on the other side of this bend. So the creek comes out and goes around this bend and then comes back out about 100 yards down at a concrete weir. And that's where I think the current measurements are being acquired. So this is a great little park here. This is part of the park system that Rapid City has maintained since the flood along the creek. It's a greenway, and it's public parks, and they have frisbee golf courses and just all daytime type activities. Kind of the mantra is no sleeping on the floodplain, but we recreate on the floodplain. So the floodplain is non-urbanized, non-industrialized, and it's just a huge open swath of park all the way through Rapid City, and hopefully will stay that way. So great day, 4 teams out here. They rotate through using the gauges, making all their gravel size measurements, their slope measurements, acquiring everything they need to acquire out here. And then we move down to another location, do the same thing. So this is probably 5 to 6 hours of field work, and they'll be working on analysis this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and evening, and Saturday morning. And then these are verbal PowerPoint presentations for results on Saturday afternoon. Okay, so pretty typical so far. A couple of teams have already calculated their discharge, and of course this is a gauge station, so we can look it up and see what it is on the gauge. And the gauge is reading, I think it was 62.3 cubic feet per second. One of the teams measured 62.1. They're 2/10 of a cubic foot per second off of what the gauge was. So that is really, really, really good. Typically on a first attempt like this, that's more luck than skill, but it could be skill too. There was one person on that team that has done this with the USGS before, so that may account for that. The other team so far that has the reading, they measured 53 when it's 63. So, and that's typically what we see is underestimation. That's because the gauge is not held steady enough when you're traversing the stream, and you're letting that propeller go off axis, which slows it down, and you end up underestimating. So we go to the next site, and they hopefully remember this stuff and get better readings. So we'll wait and see if that happens. So Grace went in for the cause.
Andy.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain.
Yep. It is.
64.
One thing I can tell you is at least it's not January. Because I've done this in the winter many times.
Really?
All right, stop 2, Rapid Creek at Rapid City. That's the gauge name. This is at Founders Park. And we got them actively going. Boy, they know what to do this time. They're cranking up and moving. We've been here 5 minutes, and we've already got tape stretched across the stream. One team's actively gauging. The other 2 are getting ready to go. So that's the way it is. The first site takes a while to get moving, and then once they see it and they understand what's happening, then they just can just go.
So which one was the left? You know what I mean? Because otherwise we'll switch up our right and our left banks.
Right. So last time this was my left and that was my right.
Okay.
Left bank, right bank. Downstream direction.
Okay.
So everything's in the flow direction of the water.
Sweet. I'm gonna dump my shirt.
Okay, so right across the creek there is this metal pole right there in the weeds. That's part of the gauging system, and then back up on the hill is a little house with a antenna that goes up to the satellite with a solar panel powered unit there, and that's where the data are sent up. But they're collected in this reach in here somewhere. This is probably just a pressure transducer of some kind that measures at some point out here in the channel. The pressure is representative of the depth of water above that gauge, or above that transducer. And so water, the flow increases, you get a greater depth, and it's going to be a higher pressure. And so that's probably how these measurements are acquired here. Well, I don't think I can get quite everybody here, but there's 4 teams. This one right here, this one right down below them, and then I can see the 3rd tape. In fact, I can see all tapes. I can see 4 tapes stretched across the stream. You probably are not going to be able to, but they're all in the water doing their thing. Some guys were walking down the sidewalk at the site we just left, and they said, "What are you doing down here?" And there's some older guys, and we said, "Well, we're teaching these students how to stream gauge." And one of them says, "You get paid to do that?" So yep, we get paid to do this. This is great. Beautiful, beautiful day. Great locations. easy work. Oh, there's what I need to do. Get up on the bridge. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, from the top of the bridge, I think there's somebody down there. Yep, I see Grace. I don't see the tape. They must be right under me. And there's the tape right there. Oh, I see what they're doing. So that's their tape. There's another tape right there. And there's 3. There's all 4 tapes right there. If you can see them on here, I don't know. This is the, what's it called, Hanson Larson Memorial Park. There's all kinds of trails and hiking trails and bike trails up this side of the ridge over here in front of us. So there's a trail system. It's on that map over there on that board. You can also get to it online as well. We'll go to this side of the creek and see what it looks like. So again, these are real-time data. These data come out of the creek and they're on the USGS InWest webpage in about 15 minutes time. Okay, there they are. Look at it.
I can tell you what they're doing. Hey, it's very nice.
You guys are acting like you know what you're doing.
Don't let them fool you.
So, if you are a high school student and you're looking for an interesting career that allows you to be outside, that allows you to do things that are critical to society, protection of resources, protection of the environment, being able to assess whether or not some engineering design plan is going to work with or against the environment, and then how to remediate it and change things so that it works with the environment, consider a career as a geological engineer. That's what we do. So this is everyday stuff. Some days I spend all day or all week working with water resources. The next week I'll be working with minerals of some kind, looking at mineral evaluation or groundwater, or something to do with rocks and soils and slopes. So it's ever changing, very, very challenging, very rewarding, and tremendously interesting. And then maybe someday in the future you'll be down here with these guys. So for several of these students, this is their last academic course. They have already completed their curriculum. They have actually walked past the stage for graduation last month. And when this class is over, they're done. They have jobs and they're scattering all across the country. So that's the best way to take this course, in my opinion, is you wait until you've had all your academic courses, and then this kind of hopefully puts them all together. So you are able to take all that information that you learned in the books and put it together with real projects out in the field, collecting the data, doing the analysis. And I think their level of understanding goes up by an order of magnitude. So it's a really successful program. And I would put this engineering camp up against any camp like this that might exist anywhere in the country. So I don't know if there are any that does the kind of things that we do, but I think we do it well, and I think our students really appreciate it when they're finished. It's tough while it's going on, but in the end, it's well worth it. Okay, so that's another typical day in the field with measurements on a stream, kind of looking at how you make these stream measurements and what the equipment is. And so now we go back into the lab, and they go through the lab exercises of calculating all these various parameters and using all this data they collected at these 2 sites today. They're going to use the USGS gauge site data from these 2 stations as well to compare how well they did, and then come up with reasons why maybe their measurements didn't match what comes off the gauge. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for today. We have a 1 morning exercise tomorrow. I'll probably get that on this video as well, so see you in the morning.